everybody. Before I actually start the speech, I would like to ask you guys a question. That have you ever think of how many waste or people on the earth generated each year? So actually, we generate about 2.01 billion tons of waste each year. So that's a very large number of waste, and about 47% of those waste are actually generated by people from highly developed countries such as the US, a lot of European countries, Australia. So and these people only take up 16% of the whole world's population. So by now you're thinking like, how would that relate to me? Because I'm not interested in this kind of stuff, right? But let me tell you, it really affect your daily life, because this pollution, the land pollution, the air pollution, from the process of treating those waste will generate a lot of pollution to our environment, and that kind of environmental pollution will directly affect our daily life. So I'm giving this speech today to hope to persuade you guys to know how recycling and waste classification are beneficial and important to change this situation. And I understand we have differences between us. So we have like differences in our own beliefs and values, but I think everyone would have the same value that are same. We all want to pursue for a better life, and we want a good quality of life. So however, our quality of life is under threat if no changes are made to the waste problem we are facing. So I'm going to talk about how recycling reduce the amount of waste, and how classification of waste help to avoid hazardous waste pollution to our land. So first of all, let's move on to recycling. And as I've mentioned before, recycling could reduce the amount of waste that would be sent to landfill or to be incinerated. So it directly reduces the amount of waste generated in general. So it turns waste into some useful products again, and it just like provides a second life for those waste. And according to World Bank's calculation, and 13.5% of waste are actually recycled each year. So if we could improve that number like to 20%, that would be a lot of waste that could be used again. So we could reduce the waste generated in general, and a lot of waste could be actually recycled in those waste that are sent to the landfills. So according to Construction and Demolition Waste, a challenge for the European Union by Christina Jacoboya, in her article, she stated that 25 to 40% of all the municipal waste in Europe is so-called construction and demolition waste, which has a very high potential for being recycled. So that means a lot of those waste that sent to the landfills actually could be recycled. So we actually lost a lot of opportunities to recycle. So I think recycling at this point. If we do more recycling, we could actually again highly reduce the amount of waste that was sent to the landfills. And so we've talked about recycling. That recycling could highly reduce the amount of waste that was sent to the landfills, and we could increase the recycling rate. And I would like to move on to talk about waste classification. So what it means by waste classification is that we classify waste into different categories. Like we give a category named as non-hazardous for the environment, or category named hazardous for the environment. So if we make waste classification, we actually avoid a lot of hazardous waste to pollute the land. So it's done by separating waste which is not suitable to be landfilled, and instead of just throwing them into the landfill, we give appropriate treatment to them so it won't pollute our land. If it's not done correctly, chemical will infiltrate into the soil and cause serious pollution. And for example, I've read from the waste classification by James Limer. He talked about that a lot of heavy metals will be generated from the combustion process of coal from the power plants, and such as zinc oxide, which is a hazardous and poisonous heavy metal to the environment. And if we didn't classify this waste so to put appropriate treatment to them, and when it degenerates inside the soil, it would emit some poisonous chemical into the soil. And in a lot of less developed country, a lot of people would drink the water underground. So imagine if those the poisonous chemical run into the underground water, people would get sick because of that, and this would be a very serious problem. And even though I've talked about a lot of benefits and why we should make recycling and waste classification, there's some still opposing viewpoints to that. And first of all, is recycling process requires a lot of manpower and resources, like machines, and which they all cost money, they need expenditures on that. And also there are a lot of energy consumption, that if you have to run a lot of recycling plants, you need electricity, and if you transport those waste, you need gas for the trucks to transport those waste. So it consumes energy. But in my opinion, I think a lot of these points could be overcome as long as the technology advances. So I think it won't be a problem in the future. And after I address the benefits of recycling and waste classification, I'm sure you guys might have better understanding of why we should we should do recycling or waste classification. We have a better understanding of that. And I believe if we improve in recycling and waste classification, I'm sure our Earth will no longer need to suffer that 2.01 billion tons of waste each year. And in the very end, I would like to encourage you guys to take your first step to try. If you have never participate in recycling, I encourage you to participate in that And if already did some recycling works in your daily life, you could try to do more. Think about more from the waste generated from your daily life. Think about what can I do if this product could be if this waste could be recycled, and if everyone think more and do more in recycling, I'm sure that this pollution problem could be solved one day. And this is the end for my sharing. Thank you for listening.